for those generous remarks, and I'd like to thank you and the Center for Geographical Analysis for sharing this conference with us, and in many ways, I think we're in some ways piggybacking off of you and the incredible work that's happening there. And I want to welcome everyone and to talk a little bit about what we do as the Committee on African Studies, where we like to think of ourselves as a center. We're moving in that direction, but we're a university-wide endeavor, and what that means is that we transcend any department or any school. And we're looking in many ways to understand where our intellectual stakeholders are across the university and to engage them in conversations with one another. And this may sound like a rather easy endeavor, but if you work at a large decentralized institution like Harvard, it can present its challenges. And as I have about a minute and a half to be a storyteller, I'm a storyteller by nature, and so I remember many years ago running into Suzanne, and Suzanne and I are old friends and obviously colleagues, and she was talking to me about the fact that, of course, Suzanne is a professor in history of art and architecture and African-American studies, and is the world's foremost expert on African art, make no mistake. This is what she does in her spare time. And Suzanne decided, you know, I'm kind of interested in this geographical analysis. I'm kind of filling around on this area. This is some time ago. So that's interesting, Suzanne. And off we went and sort of reconvened. And eventually it emerges as the project of Africa Map. And fast forward a bit, at that point I was really a junior senator around here. I was an untenured faculty member, and I was interested. But then as time evolved, I came on and chaired the program, and one of the very first things that happened to me as chair is I was paid a visit by, as you would have it, our largest donor, who's probably our only donor in some ways for a long period of time. And this donor went to Harvard and has an incredible interest here, and she's African, or married to an African, and came to see me and she said, you know what? The most important thing that has ever happened at Harvard is Africa Map. I know of nothing else that will have as seismic an importance in the university, but on the continent of Africa. And she says to me many times that what I see going on here, while important, is not Africa. This is Africa. This will have an impact. And so I say this in so many ways, we're not donor-driven in what we do, but I thought it was a very interesting and astute observation by somebody who is enormously engaged intellectually and obviously invested in the continent, and also an incredible amount of praise for my extraordinary colleague. And I want us to understand that we're here today because of the interest of a single colleague in African studies, and that's Suzanne Bouillet. And the putting together this Africa Map, we will look back 15, 20 years from now and understand it as probably one of, and I would agree with this donor, the single most important things that have happened here at Harvard. And tying back into the relationship between what Suzanne is up to and the rest of the university, it is a project that transcends discipline and transcends school in terms of importance. And I think in that way, it's reflective of the fact that we're here today, gathering people not just from across the university, but from across the country and across the world, and really understanding what began in terms of my mind as a street corner conversation with Suzanne. I'm kind of interested in something, to what will have a legacy at this university, and I believe with the continent, of something quite extraordinary. So with that in mind, I welcome all of you. I thank Suzanne for our incredible opportunity to be a part of this. When this was brought to our attention last spring and the fall, we leaped at the opportunity to be able to support you as best we could. And I very much look forward to an incredible day of engagement, as well as seeing this not just as an event unto itself, but as a much longer process in our ongoing dialogue about the importance of GIS in Africa. And so with that, welcome. I look forward to a very important day, and I will turn the microphone over to my colleague, Professor Suzanne Bouillet, who, as you know, I think is the next best thing to Elvis.